I'm Michelle Miller from CBS Saturday Morning. Welcome to The Dish. In today's episode, we're tasting the bold and unique flavors of Caribbean and African cuisine. We'll meet a Somali native who shares her East African roots through her line of curated sauces. And we'll take a trip to Trinidad and Tobago to meet a chef who creates dishes at her supper club from influences around the world. But first, renowned chef and TV host Eric Adjepong learned how career setbacks like his loss on the show Top Chef led him to more opportunities. I joined him for a meal and conversation about how he brings Afro-Caribbean flavors to American audiences.
I grew up in a really traditional West African home, but then you imagine me as a New York City kid. I had, neighbors that are Albanian and Italian and Jamaican, so it was just eclectic. So I'm so thankful I fell into this profession, this industry, culinary. I can kind of pick up from all of that.
Tamarind, one of my favorite ingredients throughout the entire world to use.
With an appreciation for all global cuisine, Chef Eric Adjepong's particularly focused on food from his homeland.
No one else is cooking the food that I'm cooking.
Case in point,
one is the first chef to bring West African food to the fight.
Season 16 of Top Chef, where he showcased delicacies from Ghana.
I'm doing a West African dumpling called fufu.
Taking viewers through a history of the transatlantic slave trade.
Eric, what did you make for us?
Today I made a Caribbean jerk tartare and lotus root chips.
It's an unfortunate story, but it's one that we can't forget. The amazing food that has traveled from West Africa to essentially the American South. And there's a beautiful lineage of all these ingredients that you might see over here as well. So
it didn't come without comment.
Maybe like a few days into the competition, and there was a chef who came to me and he says, you can chill on the African stuff. Like, you don't have to do it all the time. As if you would tell an Italian chef to not make pasta. So it was something that I internalized and kind of used as fuel as well, and wanted to actually do more, right? And almost won. I really almost won that season, which was insane.
Eric, please pack your knives and go.
I think I won in so many other ways. I put food out there that hasn't been seen before. I talked about food to judges with amazing palates that hadn't, eaten this food before. And I think I left a decent mark.
In the end, do you think it hurt you and your chances?
No, I'm sitting in front of Michelle right now, and I'm having this. I've done so many cool things.
And sitting in front of a meal that, while personal, includes a bit of business.
I'm an ambassador for Bowery Farming, and we're using a lot of their products right now.
Indoor farms that bring fresh foods to urban communities.
This is the baby kale Caesar salad that we have right here. So it's baby kale. We have a little bit of dandelion, some panko breadcrumbs, a little bit of shaved Parmesan. And then we have this beautiful green goddess Caesar dressing right here.
Might I just dig in?
Might as well, yeah.
You just keep on, you keep going.
It.
Besides his non-traditional Caesar, there's his roasted carrots. The root vegetables.
The root vegetables, exactly,
yes.
Right?
Baked roasted cod with peanut sauce.
I love using these indigenous ingredients in a really creative way.
And his chickpea stew.
This is really just an homage to a lot of the Caribbean flavors that I love.
And you really do love Caribbean food.
Love the flavor. I mean, the Scotch. It's all like a huge line, right? I think about the ingredients that are used in West Africa, ingredients that are used in like the Caribbean islands, and ingredients that are used in like the American South.
He showed me how he uses ingredients from across the diaspora.
So now that we have everything really nice and kind of cooked down,
to make his famous stew.
It's time to add in some of our tomato paste. We're gonna build some flavor now. Add about a couple of teaspoons.
I like it.
All right, perfect. This is great.
All right.
We're gonna add some curry powder in that now.
Ooh, I'm liking this dish. Okay.
Now we can go ahead and kind of deglaze it with some chicken stock. Right there.
Ooh, look at that.
Right. You can hold that, perfect. Thanks so much. And we chop some of those scallions. What I love about the scallion, obviously you can have that fresh or you can have it cooked. We're doing it both here. And then we got some.
Adjepong offered a lot of cooking classes online during the pandemic.
Today we took Chef Eric's class making the jollof risotto.
We've taken a lot of cooking classes, but this was hands down the best ever.
Here is our final product.
We had the best time.
Take the class.
Yeah!
Which allowed more time with his daughter, Lennox.
Look at the flick of the wrist.
To refine her staple of favorites. Pancake souffles and...
I actually did that yesterday. Not quite literally. I made a pancake. Oh my God, it's so funny that you said that.
What was hard to chew on losing a concept based on his favorite Caribbean street food called doubles.
I did like a whole menu. I had a space open in Washington, D.C. We had the grand opening, we had the date, and then the pandemic happened. So it was a gift and a curse, so to speak.
Why a gift and a curse?
A curse because at the time, I couldn't see the forest through the trees. The blessing of it all is all the things that I did afterwards. If I wasn't able to make the food for the folks in Washington, D.C., why not teach people all over the world how to make the food anyway? And that opened the doors for so many other things.
His 3 degrees in culinary arts and nutrition didn't hurt either. A triple threat he credits with his TV success as contestant,
The winner of today's challenge is Eric.
judge,
40 minutes left, guys, 40 minutes.
and now host.
So without further ado, the Iron Chef herself.
A new gig that teams him with chef Alex Guarnaschelli
I'm putting all my years of reputation on the line, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
in Alex versus America. You're like Pat Sajak.
I'm doing it all now. It's insane. And I think, again, the pandemic was really that, like, I think I lived like life before like BC and AD. Like, this is like, pandemic was really like a turning point. And so many crazy things that I did not even think of started happening. And again, just the power of saying yes and being at the right place at the right time.
What is the next thing you want to do?
I want brick and mortar. I want to own restaurants. I want to build or continue to grow my brand. I have some really, really exciting projects that are really going to help out with that. I'm looking to expand the idea of what African food can look like on a fine dining scale, on a quick service scale. I want to do this internationally. I want to do it in the Caribbean islands. So I have lofty plans to keep, stretching my wings. Yeah.
I already know.
Yeah.
Up next, a little spice and everything nice. This is The Dish. Born in Somalia at the start of the country's civil war, Hawa Hassan became disconnected from her culture as she grew up in the U.S. But as an adult, her mother helped her see the need for African cuisine in the food industry. Dana Jacobson learns how she returned to her roots and enjoys the flavors of East Africa.
Papaya with vanilla sauce. This is mukimo, which is corn, potatoes, and green peas. Sauteed cabbage, also from Kenya. Sugo from Somalia.
This table, full of African dishes, is food entrepreneur Hawa Hassan.
My dream was to always be at the table and then slowly but surely take over the table. And I mean, I'm looking at this table right now, I'm like, what is happening?
You've taken over the table.
It's the whole table.
The recipes for these dishes are all in Hassan's new cookbook, In Bibi's Kitchen. Bibi means grandmother in Swahili, and it is Bibis from 8 African countries who provided the recipes found on Hassan's pages.
Oh my God.
Why did you want to do this book?
I wanted to do this book because I hadn't seen people like myself reflected in books in this way. And it's exploration and recipes through conversation with these women. I really felt like they were missing from the narrative, and in turn, I was missing from the narrative.
Hassan was born in Somalia. At the start of the Civil War in 1991, she fled with her mother and siblings to a refugee camp in Kenya. Hassan was just 4 years old.
My brother and I went from being children to like young adults.
How do you do that at 4?
I mean, you just do what your mom says. And so everybody started pulling their weight.
Her mother had hoped to move the family to the U.S., but it was Hassan alone who got the chance to go to Seattle at age 7.
You had to be terrified.
No, I was playing my role in the family. I thought, here's an adventure. I'll get a feel for the land and then they'll come, which I didn't think it would take more than a year for them to get documents to come.
And as it turned out,
Black Hawk happened. Sponsorship for Somali stopped. My mother remarried and moved to Norway, where they still live.
And you were still in Seattle.
I was still in Seattle.
By middle school, Hassan says she was assimilating to the States.
I joined the basketball team. I joined 4-H. I became really what I call an American teenager.
Eating Taco Bell, was that right?
I was eating Taco Bell. I didn't know how to even do this. You know, I had left all this behind.
Did you miss home?
You know, I didn't give myself an opportunity to do a lot of missing, because if I did, I would have cracked. But what I later found out was that I had missed the smell of home. Unts or the hawaj that's in here, that's what I'd really missed.
After high school, Hassan began earning a living as a model, which exceeded expectations financially, but personally left her wanting more.
I knew it wasn't a space where I was welcomed. You know, it was like, oh, we already have enough of you, or she's not black enough, she's not white enough. I started to really drown in narratives that were placed on me. I was everything but Hawa Hassan, and I just kept thinking about how do I get back to the center of who I really am, and that's when I went on a quest to reunite with my family.
After 15 years, in 2008, Hassan finally visited her mom and siblings in Norway.
It was incredible in every sense of the words. I had found a belonging. I had found things I'd longed for. You know, in my culture, we say paradise is at the feet of your mom. And so to just be at home with her and be in the kitchen with her, to be on the floor, to wake up in the mornings together.
And the smell. You got that
and
smell
the
back.
Smell. I got the unts and the hawaj and all of that.
So once you had sort of a taste of that, some people would think, why not stay there with them? But you came back. Why?
Because I am incredibly independent.
But Hassan's mom did get her independent daughter to think about what was next.
How did you land on food?
It just went back to how can I tell stories and how can I change the conversation about who people are saying Somalis are and how can I do it through food.
She saw space in the food industry with a lack of African cuisine.
And this is the vanilla.
The vanilla sauce for the lobster.
Oh my gosh.
It's a great holiday dish.
In 2015, she launched her first venture, Basbas, the sauce line.
I just thought hot sauce, you know, why not slowly inch my way onto the table by introducing people to flavors of where I'm from.
What started in a kitchen in Harlem has grown into nationwide distribution of Basbas sauces with a focus on direct-to-consumer sales.
The advice that was given to me was to write a business plan. And so I knew 2 sauces from Somalia, build it for a few years, get a proposal going for Mbibi's Kitchen. While doing that, write a pitch for a show. All of it has just come to pass.
Adding diversity, Hassan says, to an industry still in need of it.
Oh, there's lots of tokenizing. I won't be in a space that doesn't have people that look like me in it or is not welcoming to folks like me. If I get inside, I always ask for another person who looks like me to come along. And if there's some pushback from that, I know how to pack up my bags and leave.
Hassan traces that steadfastness in herself and her beliefs to her mom, traits also belonging to the Bibis in her cookbook.
All of them are really proud and a little grateful that these stories are outside of themselves now.
Where we are as a society right now and the conversations we're having about race, about inclusion, about changing the system, does this fit in some way? Does having...
Absolutely. When you bring people together over a plate of food, a glass of wine, no conversation is too big or too small. I think that for the first time in this country, the hard conversations are being had. And so my space in that is to be able to bring people together, put the food on the table, and allow my community to speak to one another.
Up next, we sail to an island nation to savor a chef's creations with the help of her daughter, who doubles as a sous chef. Deborah Sardina trained in New York City before becoming the first female executive chef at any Hilton hotel in the Americas. And while the pandemic forced her restaurant to close, she persevered, opening her own supper club. I got to visit and experience the flavors of the Caribbean on the island of Trinidad and Tobago.
A little bit of extra virgin olive oil and the curry vinaigrette. So bon appetit, people.
When diners pull up their seats to Food Lingo by Chef Debbie,
this is so soft it just goes down, melts in your mouth.
It's an intimate experience.
So delicious, I'm dribbling.
Catered to their specific tastes.
And every single time the food was awesome.
I wanted a space that people could feel very comfortable.
It's all the work of Chef Deborah Sardina.
Any way that we can get our Trinbago food on the map, that's what we're about.
She highlights the diverse food of the region with her very own supper club.
I've decided to have, outside of catering, an intimate dining experience where we have our chef's table. We do that Caribbean, but with a little bit of a modern twist.
For our meal,
a very little taste of what Trinidad and Tobago has to offer.
This is a little taste.
No, this really is a
Okay.
An introduction that came with a bit of an education.
So sauce is a very traditional breakfast or liming food.
Liming.
Liming.
Describe liming for us.
Liming is, when you are with a group of your favorite friends, you're just in that space, in that moment, great beverage, great food, and you're just enjoying whatever is happening around you.
So a little bit more than just hanging, a little bit less than partying.
Could be, it depends, because sometimes that lime can get, it could build. It could start off very, very, very cool, and it could build.
Like her menu, Chef Sardina's career has followed a similar trajectory. A crisscross cultural tour of worldwide cuisine.
This is paired with dal puri roti, which is a flat bread that's stuffed with split peas. And we have some curried shrimp with that.
It's hard to talk food in Trinidad without the backstory of the dishes themselves.
And what is this?
This is blood pudding or blood sausage.
Okay.
This is another breakfast item. It's with a little bit of our French influence, or the boudin, as they would call it. And then a little bit of Asian. So we have our char siu ribs, and we call it Singapore noodles, which has a light curry in it. And then we have a tabbouleh salad with a little bit of garlic lemon chicken skewers.
Okay.
So
I'll have a little taste of this.
Go right ahead.
She created this space after restaurant restrictions were lifted during the pandemic.
I know what it was like in the States, but this is an island nation of less than 1.5 million. For your industry, how bad was
it was
the COVID
bad.
blow?
I think we saw it worldwide, and we fall under hospitality, got hit really, really hard. And so in reality, you had to make some tough decisions.
One of them, to close down her restaurant, 54 Saddle.
And it was just getting into that rhythm, but I think part of the process of life is understanding that if it's one thing that will always happen to us is change, and how you deal with the change will determine where you go. Like, who would think that being a pandemic, I would be sitting here speaking to you? Who would think, right? So there we go.
This is really her second act in life.
What was your first?
My first chapter was working in New York City. I went to New York City Technical College. I worked the gamut of different hotels and restaurants, and always wanted to come back home.
But not before applying to study with renowned French chef Madeleine Cayman. She got her acceptance just before giving birth to her daughter Erin.
And then I decided, my daughter was growing up, and I realized that I needed to spend some quality time with her. You have those deep desires and that kind of push you to the next level.
Eventually, she returned to Trinidad to become the first woman executive chef at the Trinidad Hilton Hotel and Conference Center, the first of any Hilton in the Americas.
I was like 16-hour days.
What was that like for you to break through that glass ceiling?
I think at the end of the day, there's some basic truths that never change. But my daughter and I have a little bit of a joke where we would say, you put on your big girl panties and you just make it happen. So at the end of the day, you may have to work twice as hard, but you know that through determination, you're gonna make it happen.
I caught you calling her mom in the kitchen. Did she?
Her daughter, who trained at the Culinary Institute of America, is now her sous chef.
Yes, she is chef to me, but sometimes,
it slips.
I'm like, Mom, and she's like,
She's carrying on a family tradition established by her grandparents, who've owned and operated Blue Crab Restaurant on Tobago for nearly 40 years.
As a young girl, I'd be in both kitchens all the time, watching them cook, prepare food, and they would rope me in to do little things, whether it's peel garlic or... So I found myself actually fascinated in food as well.
It didn't go unnoticed by her mother.
She always had a great sense of taste on the palate. Not only am I extremely proud of her, but I would say that she is a chef.
You have someone to pass it on to?
That's the whole idea.
Her big idea was to take this food global. She's cooked all over Europe, a clientele that hired her to bring them a taste of the Caribbean.
Are there misconceptions about the food here or the Caribbean in general?
I think we have showcased in many different levels that Caribbean cuisine can be on any world stage, can stand on any world stage.
So what are we making?
Pilau.
Pilau.
Chicken pilau.
Chicken pilau.
What that is basically stewed chicken, and to that we have rice, pigeon peas, carrots, and pumpkin.
It's all for the benefit of her island homeland.
Oh, I love it. So delicious.
Cheers, I think. Huh?
Yeah, cheers. You did a really good job, Madam Debbie. Chef Debbie, here's to you.
Thank you.
And here's to Trinidad and Trinidad.
Yes, Trinidad.
Oh, that's perfect going down. For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. We'll see you next time for another helping of The Dish.